G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff. We all hear about workplace problems. We all know that almost every company has had issues in the last, say, 50 years with toxicity, right? Workplaces have become so hyper-competitive. The days of the, I believe it was called the boomer shuffle, shuffle into work, keep your head down, do your job, work hard, you too might get promoted. But with the rise of corporate culture and the performance ratings and, asking your colleagues about you and your performance has brought a new type of covert aggression. Now, a lot of people blame the patriarchal structure, but it is a quiet dysfunction. It's rarely discussed, and that is, and in the words of the McKinsey Institute, narcissistic feminism. Now, this is where feminist ideals are twisted into tools for control. This is not about feminism, the ideals of feminism, but those individuals who weaponize the social justice language in order to dominate others. Often referred to as female gatekeeping, where you get a queen bee, according to Dr. Nancy Doyle, occupational psychiatrist. These toxic feminists are passive-aggressive, overprotective. They create drama where they play the victim or they victimize you to be your rescuer. They persecute you. This is predominantly covert, where they micromanage, female bosses who micromanage. They're always rescuing you from, in order to bring you in under their wing. They're always, claiming you're the victim of the patriarchy in order to, they don't let you stand on your own. So through this, you have a dysfunctional environment. You cannot do your work. You are constantly managed, and any good ideas are no longer yours, they're ours. And so it is predominantly a management issue, but it can also come from the co-worker who's trying to rise over you or offload their workload onto you. Now, the rise of feminism in corporate culture, of course, has been troublesome for many women. And for years, they have been silenced. Now, just because she has the nose ring does not mean, right, that her co-workers should be able to bully her. But she seems to have noticed more and more that an all-female workplace is an unhealthy environment. Now, many studies will contradict it, but in the 2023 study by the McKinsey Institute, they found 72% of companies who champion women's equality only 32% of those have policies in place where workplace bullying between women is dealt with equally. No. So what happens is feminist becomes a performance, not a practice. Okay, women do not treat each other equally. the female boss is just as driven by the corporate culture as the man. In fact, sometimes worse, because she wants to prove herself. So often it is mid-level female managers who champion the equality programs to rise the ranks, right? But they daily refuse to mentor or even champion their co-workers because they're in a competition. Now, according to, let me get her name right, and we're going to hear a lot about her. I've already covered her briefly before, is Danny Sublowski. Dr. Danny Sublowski. Okay. And she has noted that in every aspect of life, women use the same sexual competition as men to get ahead. She said that males are better at it, but females, particularly feminists, are just as hyper-competitive. It's like the same percentage of men and women are hyper-competitive. And often it's anthropological behavior. Like, it's total, it's cultural, it's subconscious. It is at a right. And what happens is that you have women who advocate for inclusion, but only when it comes to promoting her. And when she's the boss, she only promotes women who reflect her ideology and her cult of personality, right? So, the devil wears Prada, apparently, is spot on. Now, the classic signs of narcissistic feminism is when they use the language of empowerment, but instead of sharing amongst the, instead of so-called sharing the power where people are promoted on merit, right? She has a brand rather than a tool of equality, a brand, and you have to adhere to the principles, be an ally, and support her. You are her pillar, not her co-worker. And so she'll only promote those under her, and give good workplace performance ratings, bonuses, etc. And she'll double down on the men as the source of the toxic workplace culture. At the same time, she'll gaslight her colleagues about... all those years, remember how women build things up? All those years she has been bullied or harassed, or any of the things that was used to hurt her, she will now use against everybody, right? She is now on a... especially when they become an executive, they are now on a revenge tour, right? A lot of women are looking for the early exit. Now, they will promote inspirational organizational structures and meanings and promote fairness and fitness, right? But at the same time, they're always going to gaslight you that it's your workplace performance isn't enough, you know. They're always trying to get that extra hour of unpaid overtime. So every tactic that was used her to complete her job, she will now use against everybody. So the most driven in the workplace to get promoted are only doing so to go on a revenge tour. Now, these are not all female leaders, but the McKinsey Institute has noted it's a fair percentage. So they haven't given exact numbers, but when they say fair percentage, are they talking about a third? Because it's lower than a half. So it's got to be up there in the numbers. But senior leadership gets worse. So when you have a high-performing woman, right? What happens when a high-performing woman becomes an executive? They engage in emotional blackmail. They become misogynist. They silence dissent. They create a workplace where speaking up is punished, not encouraged. The irony is the very power structure that feminism seeks to dismantle, she'll reinforce and actually put men into key positions under her if they support her. She'll use sex, sexual politics, or the "are you an ally?" She will use social behaviours of rewarding male friendliness and distance as a sign of you're a good, you keep your head down, you work hard, you don't flirt, you don't waste time, and everything flows smoothly. She'll reward her male colleagues more than she'll reward her female colleagues, because not only does she see you as a threat, you're not a pillar, you're unproductive, you're low key, you're low value. We value your contribution to the sisterhood, but you're not as productive as Jimbo. So this is a study by the McKinsey Institute, as I said, 2023. It's quite detailed. Now I'm going to have to October 5th, 2023, by the McKinsey Institute. Because, let's face it, social media, these days, I'm going to probably have to put the link in the description as well. Otherwise, this is one of those times where, got to cover my rear, and you'll find increasingly any of you out there as a creator, But I think it's important for you to understand that your female co-workers are suffering in silence because far too often the corporation is pretty much no different under male leadership or female leadership. I think that's important for you to understand that when they talk about the 500 psychopaths who run the world, as a conspiracy theory, of course, they are not talking about men. Okay, if you look at the top 500, okay, they're all married, right? A lot of them are now widows. A lot of them increasingly do and have Trump derangement. You see Code Pink in their recent trip to Cuba. That all but one person was a woman, by the way, apparently on that trip. So, and the youngest there was Hassan Piker, but it was led by Code Pink. They went to Cuba. They LARPed in a 5-star hotel. They met with Castro. Now it turns out Code Pink was funded by Cuba, obviously with money from China. They were there to highlight aid delivered by China, right? 5,000 packets of rice or something. I'm not talking small packets. I'm talking about, 5,000, huge bags of rice. But the thing is, they're in the middle of a power out. How are they going to cook all that rice? That rice is useless. You might as well feed the, what's the rice for? To catch the rat. How did you have, I thought we delivered rice. Where are you eating the meat? Rat. Yeah. So, it is, and of course, as we've seen, what they don't tell you is that the whole world right now is, wondering, blaming the US for this embargo. But I thought communism, it's like feminism. You don't need no capitalists. So communism can't work without capitalism, right? So if the US doesn't support Cuba, right, communism fails. So wait a minute. So capitalist America has to support Cuba so communism can succeed? And they want communism in America? These billionaire wives, like Code Pink, are the top female executives. They're all top female executives. So no one talks to their employees. You look up toxic workplaces. You have a billionaire, Singh's wife. You have a tech billionaire who makes his money selling spyware to the CCP. These AI cameras, apparently, some sort of surveillance devices, phone bugging, all sorts of nefarious tools of surveillance. So, yay, capitalism, making money off the oppression of the people. But that's exactly what communism is, isn't it? So we have, again, right, female-dominated industries such as healthcare, retail, beauty, education. You have women increasingly taking the TikTok, and large numbers. But you do get the questions, right? But they're not they're gentle. They're not threatening. Okay, women somehow mistake being flirted with as a danger, yet the real danger are the drama queens who are full of hate and jealousy. Yeah, never flirt with my coworkers. That's weird. A lot of people don't. A lot of men don't. They don't engage coworkers. In Japan, for the last 30 years, most men have not engaged women. Their population is in decline because men, any engagement with women will can land them in legal trouble. They get married, and as soon as she has one kid, she has planned her exit. How she goes to her parents more often. She takes a kid with her. She won't come back for days, sometimes months. And then as soon as it increases until she never comes back. And then a month later, she hits you with a divorce, and you're trapped. In Japanese law, you've got no recourse. You let her go. You let her go with the kid. You've let her go. That's Japanese law. So men, as soon as they're married, they're not getting married. If they want a kid, they'll ask a woman. They literally, and of course, around 500,000 men a year don't get married, period. So, women have destroyed everything. And nobody wants to talk about it. Because women are laughing on the internet. Ha, you're going to die alone. You're not going to have kids. We're not going to have kids with you. They're laughing. So they admit they're so you're so toxic you don't want, like, women have convinced other women not to have kids. And according to Dr. Danny, that is what women do. They destroy the psychology, they destroy other women psychologically because they think, oh, she's not going to have kids, so the 1%, all they care about, these toxic women, is to get the 1% to notice them, to marry them, because they're the only ones in a dress, But they build up their careers, and then what happens? They're 50 and they're on the internet complaining, but I'm a high-value woman. Men don't want high-value women. Men don't care about your job or they don't care that you are the prettiest nail salon technician in 2025 or employee of the month at McDonald's for 2026. Or that you're the best administrator from Dartmouth College or whatever female empowerment facility you crawled out of. No, men don't care about your achievements, right? Because men want a quiet life. They want to come home to a cooked meal, right? They don't care if you're only once a week, as long as they're satisfied, right? But the problem is, women are never satisfied. They always have to constantly compete. Women are more competitive than men, and they are bringing it to ever increasingly to the workplace because they cannot take out their frustrations on men. Now, a lot of it is gatekeeping, okay? A lot of bad behavior by men and women is gatekeeping. The problem is that women will deny that these goes on. They have to suffer in silence because of the sisterhood. Now, the problem is to narcissistic women, according to the Dulite study, is that women become less productive. They have a higher turnover rate, which costs the company time and money. That their diversity initiatives feel like PR stunts. And guess what? You have companies like Code Pink who come in and then bill you money to fix your legal problems, or because now you have all these lawsuits by Jane Doe law firms, and they're all owned by Singh, his wives, and he has an entire corporate network. And this goes back to what I was saying in another video about the media matrix. They have also the corporate influence matrix, where China, through Singh, is keeping track of Western businessmen and their influence campaign. So, and apparently Code Pink has infiltrated the Soros Media Information Network, and they're providing information to China. And their trip to Cuba, funded by the Cuban government for propaganda, may have violated US law. But because this is why so many on the left have Trump derangement, right? So they can always claim to be the victim. They attack, right? Then they deny everything that wrongdoing and then say, oh, it's because we speak truth to power, right? But in the reality, it's a double standard. Right? If a male boss interrupts a woman all the time and is always putting her down, he is in legal trouble. But because it's a woman, right, she has protected status under the law, particularly in states like California and New York, where a lot of the bigger corporations are based, or in Blue Austin, or international corporations based in all the corporations like the left, because the left gives them laws. And this is where the left has pretty much become a performance of feminism to create this so-called teamwork where women cannot speak up, or only a few can speak up, because increasingly female managements, or they hire Indians. This is why they're hiring Indians. Now, Indians should realize they're being used, but they don't care because the wages in India, even for an executive, are terrible, right? So if Singh is exploiting them, it doesn't matter to them because they are getting more than they would ever anywhere else. So you have a culture where you have male foreigners and local hyper-ambitious females all wanting the same thing, to oppress anybody who will challenge them because they're often overrated. They've used psychological tools of manipulation to get ahead. Women who experience aggression in the workplace have experienced aggression from both genders, but report a higher level of burnout and career disillusionment, often feel trapped, because they're unsupported by male allies when betrayed by the very women who should be understanding their struggles. But men are not allowed to speak up. This is what women do not understand. Men cannot speak up against a woman. You try that and you are hit with a violation of the workplace rules that protect women. Because a woman, you speak up, you are now a misogynist. You speak up against a woman, you are now attacking a protected class. So You cannot break the cycle as a man. You cannot defend a woman. You cannot protect a woman, which feeds into the feedback loop of performing feminism, where the female boss will tell you, men won't protect you, choose the bear, but women have to hold themselves accountable. Only women can break the cycle. Only women can get rid of feminism. Because it's institutionalized, and not just in the workplace, but in the legal framework of many countries to protect women. Then what we need is solidarity. Because female on female bullying is the worst. The worst bullying is not from men, it's from women, because women are protected, right? They engage in jealous behavior. They're hypercritical. Nothing you do is perfect, right? They always want you to support their achievements and their projects. Behind your back, they engage in gossip. They engage in social exclusion. This is the very tactics they used against men to get ahead, right? They sabotage you. They don't punch you. They isolate you. Everything you say is twisted to be a personal attack on them. You're not supportive. You're not part of the team. Not a team player is the worst thing that can be put on your corporate resume, because that doesn't go away. Those HR reports, those companies trade them. Code Pink, Facebook, Google, they all trade in information. They are all Amazon. They all have corporate services. Right? Facebook sells your social media to corporations. Google runs corporate information packages and little AI packages where they can plug into databases that mean girls from high school have grown up. Stop the cycle, but let's break the cycle. Only women can do it, because you voted for all these laws without realizing that it was a trap. Okay? It isn't just a workplace issue. It's a social issue that has undermined society. Feminism has to lose its power because it's become a shield for bad behavior. True equality, a lot of women now understand that true equality is not feminism. It's human rights. We had human rights. We had rights for all in the 90s. The problem is, in the 90s, the corporate culture took over. First with political correctness. Then you had affirmative action for the 60s, 70s, political correctness. And now we have this new feminism, and people aren't liking it. Workplaces are not equitable. You're not judged on your merit. Women realize now that driving men out of the workplace has decreased productivity by 30% in some places. Women are more ambitious, but they want workplace flexibility. However, women's representation is not keeping pace, according to many. That's because women are HR leaders are keeping other women out. Now they're obsessed with these quotas. And the problem is, they're using these quotas to bring in migrants to replace workers, and workplace productivity is going down. And they're hiring underqualified people, and they're just churning through employees. And so you're building up more and more unemployed. Society's going down. And people just are so obsessed with politics now that even your average woman in the workplace is just not happy. You have a lot of people here who are unhappy. If you're pretty, it's worse, particularly with the when she starts to get more attention, because attention is currency to women, right? That's why they love social media. That's why they dominate social media. A lot of women have only been bullied by girls. They talk excessively loud and very disruptive in the workplace. And it's all done on purpose to destroy other people's productivity. They know, right? The only way to get ahead is to bully, right? Because they learn it in school. They learn it, and it's reinforced in the workplace because the corporation only wants the oppressor at the top, not a cooperative, collaborative business, right? And it's driven by excessive corporate profit, right? We have right now overproduction, right? Corporations are deliberately overproducing products, underselling all to destroy all the middle class, to destroy all the businesses out there, right? And because you would rather save a few dollars than support or you claim to support I only support local businesses. So a lot of people like myself are completely excluded because we're not female, because we're not a person of colour, we're not a local business. So you're making excuses that the corporation has actually promoted through social media, right? Because Amazon doesn't suffer when you don't buy from me. Amazon just has Temu products just constantly churning out to the millions of people who don't use social media, right? So you're supporting millionaires and billionaires to save a few bucks, thinking, oh, it's Amazon. It's not an American business anymore. It's just it's just another corporation. It's not a family-friendly organization. It's a toxic workplace environment where people work 40 nowadays and get paid for 6. You know, ever increasingly, you have people driving hours to deliver, while an Amazon influencer gets paid $700,000 a year to be the area manager. What are they doing to be an area manager that's worth so much money to Amazon? Bullying, workplace, right? Workplace bullies, keeping the workers fearful, making sure the local politicians are greased and pleased, right? Making sure their workplace flows of unmarked vans go unnoticed, you know. Ever increasing, we have problems in society where people who try to speak up are either silenced, shadow banned, or deliberately ignored because it doesn't fit your rose-coloured glasses view of the world. Now, sorry, I don't mean you. I'm talking about general society. And women are increasingly noticing what men noticed already back in the 90s, that feminism, this affirmative action, is not going to turn out well. Everybody says it, the meme. You just cannot talk about it anymore. Social media is protecting corporations because they are corporations. So let's see how it goes. But more and more females, more and more institutes are noting the productivity is falling. Western companies are failing, and they rather go down on the sinking ship and keep trying to prop up feminism, where all their female workers are telling them it's the problem, it's the cause. If you got rid of it, your productivity will go back up, right? If you stop chasing off the male coworkers, your productivity will go back up. If you stopped overproducing and underpaying people, it will go back up. But no, they're all chasing short-term profits. They call it managed decline. Well, you saw this with Cracker Barrel, with Disney, LucasArts, what's the other company that recently collapsed? Huge. But you also see it sometimes with where you have the male feminist as well in charge. Okay? McDonald's. So this is not a toxic behavior by women per se. It's a corporate culture dressed as feminism. It uses all the feminist tropes. And if you go back through feminism, you always see it. I've talked about this with Jane Fonda, Greer, many others, Code Pink. They're all rich influencers. They all doll themselves up. And as soon as they've gotten rid of their competition, they marry a rich man and have multiple children with him. And they move into the biggest houses. And they pretty much, have... they only want the migrants because you look at Hollywood, right? Who's their maids? Like they pay $4.50 for their maid, an hour for their maid. They pay pool cleaners. All these services that are underpaid, and yet no one protects these people, right? It's almost if everything within their culture is a performance, right? That everything they complain about that's bad in society comes from this small number of powerful people who control the politicians, and you have ordinary women who are probably, now I'm not going to say just because she's got a nose ring, she might be good at her job. She was probably good at her job. That's why she was, all of them, I would think, were probably good at their job, and they were bullied by their female co-workers. And I've seen this with teachers. If someone rises, they will try to drag them all down. This idea of the collective, crabs in a bucket, this happens also where you have all female staff, right? Because the person at the top, you've seen this, right? Where you saw this with Sissy Spacek, you saw this with Jane Fonda, you saw this with, now I forget the actress's name, all of them linked to Harvey Weinstein. All these actresses listed to Harvey Weinstein, they all got ahead, right? They all shut the gate behind them, right? To get those awards, Actress of the Year, or, they have increasingly performative, all these feminist, what's the word I'm looking for? Consultancies, right? That's what Code Pink does. So you can understand that the majority of feminists don't realize that they're only there to keep Madonna, Jane Fonda, in their mansions, to keep buying their merchandise. Do you know how much merchandise and feminist merchandising goes on, particularly around these marches, these so-called organic marches where somehow lots of money is flowing? Well, that's why they hate Trump, because that's why they hate any Republican, because Republicans, the first thing they do is cut what they call discretionary spending, trying to save the economy. And they end up getting, Congress ends up somehow always turning around and increasing discretionary spending because of all the harassment that goes on in the workplace. And Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about it. Now, whether or not you want to believe her, that's up to you. But I think she was bullied. I'm not going to say by Trump, but I think she was bullied. I think she's just taking out her frustrations on others. The same with Lauren Boebert and many others. They won't tell us the truth. You see the telltale signs of lies, where here you see the genuine fear. You see the genuine disgust, the genuine surprise. I'm sorry if you don't think these women are performing, but I assure you, right, these women are actually saying things that men can't. And that's the real problem in society, is the silencing of voices who could provide answers, to provide solutions to the problem. And I am telling you, it is for women, and even Mackenzie and some of these women have all come to the same conclusion. Feminism has to end, right? It's no longer about equality. It's about protecting the few women who've made it to the top. It's turned into gatekeeping. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please support the channel on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. I appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next video, and bye for now.